Why is it so hard to like Nick Sirianni if you're not?
Because he's a douche.
Our favorite coach for the Philadelphia Eagles is talking more shit. Listen to Nick Sirianni.
What the fuck I'm doing? 2 road games coming up at the Giants.
Nick Sirianni is once again in the headlines, and once again it's related to his clown behavior. On October 13th, 2024, he was seen chirping to his own fans after a win against the Browns that was more horrific than looking at your own asshole in the mirror. And speaking of looking at an asshole, Sirianni then held his post-game presser with his child by his side as a genius maneuver to avoid tough questions from the media. This is typical behavior for the Eagles coach, who in many ways personifies his fan base. He has a history of doing cringe shit longer than a kindness influencer handing a poor person money and then filming it for likes and clicks. Let's take a look at St. Nick's timeline of clown antics, shall we? But right after we pay some bills. I have been using Manscaped products for over 6 years and I still love them. Though they handle my balls really well, pause, there was always a shortcoming when it came to my face. Pause again. Introducing the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. What's it do? With the skin-safe 4-blade foil shaver, it allows you to get an extremely close shave without having to bust out messy shaving cream or get nasty razor burn. With the Flex Adjust technology, the blades pivot and adjust to your face, and you can lock the blade in place to give you the ultimate close finish all over your face. Pause again. It's waterproof, has 75 minutes of runtime in one charge, and has a travel lock. This is the perfect face shaver. So after this video, join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com/5-points and get 20% off and free international shipping. Again, that's manscaped.com/5-points from the link below or pinned comment and get 20% off and free shipping. So who is this clown? Nick Sirianni is actually from Southwest New York State, a tiny town called Jamestown. He played wideout at D3 Mount Union and began coaching at his alma mater immediately after his playing days were over. After being hired by the Chiefs in 2009 by another famed asshole, Todd Haley, he worked his way up to receivers coach and after a stint with the Chargers, got a breakthrough role with the Colts as their offensive coordinator. Yes, you can somehow blame Frank Reich for a lot of head-scratching coaching hires around this league, including Frank Reich. Also, who would have thought Frank Reich would have a fucking coaching tree? Sirianni spent 3 years with the Colts before being tapped to be the Eagles head coach in 2021, and the clown show kicked off to a rough start. At his introductory press conference, Sirianni stumbled through his words as he mansplained sound bites away like a finance bro on a first date.
Next thing that's very important to me is that we build a smart football team, that we have a smart football team here. The first part of that, the first part of being smart is knowing what to do. We're gonna have systems in place that are easier to learn.
Despite the rough start in front of the mic, Sirianni would get comfortable both on the podium and the sidelines. Like in a 2022 preseason game where Sirianni was rightfully pissed about a late hit on QB Jalen Hurts, so much so in fact he yelled shit across the field to Robert Salah. You don't have to be a lip reader to figure out that he thought it was bullshit, but the peacocking from across the bench seemed excessive. It would be a sign of things to come. That kicked off the 2022 season, one in which the Eagles barely beat a struggling Indianapolis Colts team who had fired, guess who, Frank Reich, 3 weeks prior, and hired Jeff Saturday off his couch. Pause. This is a video about Nick Sirianni being a clown, not the Colts. Anyway, Sirianni then yelled at Colts fans after the 1-point win, saying that was for Frank Reich. Like, bro, you don't have to acknowledge the fans. You're making millions of dollars to coach. Just coach. In the playoffs, the Eagles faced the Giants, and another clown incident occurred when the Eagles were bending the Giants over like their name was Angela White and decided to pile on by going for 2. After a timeout, Sirianni was caught on the hot mic saying,
I know what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm allowed to be done.
The following day, Sirianni would say that the Giants sucked, which, I mean, was an accurate statement.
What do you think of the defensive performance?
Man, would they score 7?
But when there are guys like Andy Reid and Bill Belichick who would never outright talk shit about the other team, there is Nick Sirianni, who has about as much class and dignity as Martin Shkreli, and somehow a more punchable face. A week later, former Giants defensive captain Julian Love called Sirianni out, saying this about him.
You know, he's a guy who really is doing a good job because he's not getting in the way of his team. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, he's in for a free ride right now.
Okay, chirping after a loss is dumb, but the back and forth between the Eagles and the Giants wouldn't stop there, as you will see later in this vid. Eagles players rightfully defended Sirianni after the incident.
You know what, man? You know, people always got something to say when they at home.
The Eagles would then make it to Super Bowl 57, where Sirianni cried before the game, but would later be crying over a phantom defensive holding call on James Bradbury. In a way, losing a close Super Bowl has more or less enabled Sirianni's subsequent behavior, as this perceived success might just be the thing that makes him so brash and keeps him on the sidelines. The following season, during a Monday night game versus the 49ers, Sirianni found himself in the middle of a sideline fight that ultimately got his head of security, Big Dom, ejected from the game and subsequently barred from the sidelines for the rest of the season. And Dom wasn't even playing. Look, what the big guy did wasn't on Sirianni, but the culture of having a security guard get involved in sideline fights kind of lets you know what kind of shit show Nick is running over there. And it all points to clown. After the season ended, where the Eagles flamed out like fidget spinners and silly bands, Sirianni was at it again with Giants fans, trolling them to let them know they signed their best player in Saquon Barkley.
I'd typically let it go, but if the guy gets me good enough, I usually say, you know, got your best player.
Yes, Saquon was a force for the Giants, and Daniel Jones should buy him a lake house for allowing him to secure a $160 million bag, but Saquon isn't named Dexter Lawrence. I get you want to take jabs at Giants fans, but again, this is Rex Ryan-like behavior. Finally, we have the recent incident where Sirianni yelled at his own fans. After eking out a win against the lowly Browns, Sirianni turned around and addressed his own fans, who were chirping at him all game, and allegedly called for him to be fired. Like, bro, head coaches are supposed to be above that petty shit. I get it, fans are annoying as fuck, and some of them need to be shaken like a fancy cocktail, but acknowledging them just pours gasoline on a fire, like Adam Ottavino entering a game with the lead and runners on. Sirianni would later use his kid as a human shield in the press conference afterwards, and then later apologize for his actions. I do want to acknowledge one thing: the players are laughing along with Sirianni as he taunts the fans, but who knows, we've all laughed at our boss's horrible jokes, knowing damn well saying, "What's red and bad for your teeth, a brick," is never funny. Ha ha ha, thanks, that was a good one, boss. So who knows what will happen with Clown Show Nick. All I know is that they say in the NFL, the thing that got you the job is the thing that will get you fired. It's actually a bit more simple than that. Win and stay in, lose and pack up your shit. And this guy needs to win to stay in it.
Next thing that's very important to me is that we build a smart football team, that we have a smart football team here. And I know we have the people in place to do that. The first part of that, the first part of being smart is knowing what to do.